Right now, we have a classroom filled with students.
Hello, everybody. We are so excited to get to share Seth's story. We always look forward to doing that. Natalie, anything that you can think of that is not covered, just let me know and we'll be happy to talk about it a little bit more as well. I've got some pictures on here. I hope everyone has had lunch and is not queasy because it will be disgusting and it will gross you out, I promise. But it's kind of freaky. It will star your mind. Okay. So, I'm going to show you real quick because you've already seen his video. So I'm going to go ahead and show some of the pictures. I think you've seen some of this, but that's where they removed the bone flap. That's not photoshopped. A lot of people want to know that. So I'm going to just show you just a few pictures. We're getting to the latissimus muscle, but this was the original craniotomy where they removed the bone flap. It was 3 months before they did put that back. This is where they replaced the bone flap and his head started swelling again. There it is where his head started swelling again. By the way, this is Seth back in nursing school. He was in school to be a nurse. He was also a full-time youth pastor. He had graduated at 15. He's a brilliant kid and a triathlete, and that's how he got ran over. He was actually training that day. So y'all ready? Here we go. This is when they took the latissimus muscle and they replaced it. They actually took it from under his arm. He has a scar that runs right under his armpit, almost completely down to his hip. It's a pretty massive scar, and it's still, even after being healed, it's still I'm gonna blow that up for you guys in case you can't see it good. This skin graft here, they took and covered the top of this. They covered it with his thigh, and I have some pictures of that as well. But the interesting thing is this is 3 inches thick. It is a very thick muscle. That right there is now hollow. There is no bone there at all. The first surgery was actually the Grim Reaper. I did want to show y'all that. This was initially what they closed up his wound with. He started leaking brain fluid from powerlifting, the pressure of the lift. That's why he can't do powerlifting anymore. But he had 3 small pin-sized holes open up here where he was leaking cranial fluid. And that was closed by a skin graft. And if you guys can look, you'll see this is actually Grim Reaper space. It is off of his right arm over here. It was also a deep tissue skin graft, and that was pretty cool. But we did not pick where they would take the tattoo. That was the most viable that's that word, viable place that they could take it. And then they took the main artery and ran it down. This is also cool. This is the latissimus muscle again, because they closed it with the Grim Reaper. They had to remove Grim Reaper because we found out later that it would not heal up correctly because there was actually a small piece of bone shard floating around, free floating in here, causing a lot of issues and causing infection, chronic infection. So they did this one, and the first surgery, they ran his main artery from Grim Reaper. They took the main artery out of his forearm and ran it here to the carotid. This one, they took the latissimus muscle and they ran the main artery. They took another main artery from the same place, ran it from behind his ear into the carotid. This is cool. Okay, this instrument right here was actually some wires in there. He wore a little thing here like a Doppler, and it was like a fetal baby monitor. They would come in and listen to this and check the heartbeat in it because they were trying to make sure the blood supply was still going there. So that was pretty creepy. Sounded like he had a baby in his head. This is the actual skin graft area where they took off of this thigh. The first graft they took on the other leg. So that's the skin that they removed. And so I'm going to go over some of the questions that you sent us, Natalie. Let's see, Seth's speech goals. Seth's speech goals. The interesting thing is when Seth came home from the hospital initially, which was 5 months after he had the accident initially, he came home He was in a wheelchair. He was in diapers. He was hemiparalysis completely on the right side. His right arm was drawn up, which is why it's such a miracle he became a power lifter. His right arm was drawn up, and that muscle had completely atrophied, and he still has a little hike going on over there. But he's basically coming back. A lot of the things that we did were non-conventional, non-textbook ways of his recovery. And Seth could only say at that time, due to the apraxia and the aphasia, he could only say ya, ma, and na, and that's it. There, he could not say anything past those 3 words, if you want to call them words. But we completely have done a lot of things. As far as his goals, I will say they have been doing a lot of the tongue exercises, and that is helping Seth a lot. With getting different sounds at, because because of the paralysis, he also could not feel on that side at all, on the right side. He was totally numb for years. And so it affected the way he even pronounced sounds. Even when he would learn a sound, it still affected it due to the paralysis on that side. His goals are to be able to communicate a little bit more fluidly, well, a lot more fluidly, so he can smack talk me a little bit more than he's doing right now, but to communicate better so that he can hold a reasonable conversation. Right now, he has come up with a lot of different methods, even like ordering food and things like that. As you know, with all of you speech pathologists that are in here, a lot of people that have the apraxia and aphasia, they just completely lose their independence because they won't go out and try to order. They won't go out and try to hold a conversation or anything like that. While Seth initially from get-go would go in, and one of the things I told him that helped, and I think it would help if you guys would even let your patients know this, is to let them know that yes, you can't say it correctly. But one of the things I did is I put on Seth's phone, I did it a couple of ways. I did a small video that explained a little bit of background, and then apraxia and aphasia, and that he understands you, but just you may have to repeat yourself, and he can get his point across. That it gave him, I think, the courage to be more independent, because the way I explained it to him, people don't know if you're foreign and you can get your point across. So use your language that you have. And it became something that, if you guys watch TikTok, there's a lot of polygogs that are trying to figure out what language this is. And we've heard a lot of different opinions, and people that go, no, I know what that language is. I understood it. And it was crazy. This actually happened the other day on one of the Instagram posts that is also on TikTok. Seth was saying some things where he was counting backwards from 10, and he started his language. And someone had commented back that that's Aramaic. And so that was pretty cool. And we've heard that several times. But as far as his speech goes, it's always going to be to be able to communicate clearer. That is the thing that speech therapists and any therapist, nurses, medical, anybody that has been on Seth's path of his journey, everybody that's been there that's made the most positive impact, I'll say it that way, is the positive attitude people, the people that have humor, the people that are not just going through their paperwork like it's a cattle call, and you just like, this is a human being, it's not a robot, and this is not the assembly line, this is our life. And as a caregiver, one of the things that has impacted me, there's only been a few people that have crossed our path that have been rude. Seth mocks me a lot because I can smile at the same time as being very rude to you. So
Bless.
So I will inform them and educate them pretty quickly that I don't, if he can get up and he can smile and he can make the day a good day when it's a really bad day physically and in other ways that he's dealing with emotionally, psychologically, but if he can choose, and that's the thing, choose to make that day worth and make other people feel valued or heard or seen, then it in return pours back into him, and that gives him purpose and meaning. But when someone has a speech issue or an issue at all medically, the brain issue and things like that, the medical people that we have encountered, if they talk to us in English, it helped a lot, because I didn't go to medical school, and Google is a friend sometimes, and sometimes it is not a friend, because it will give you the most horrific things if you Google them. That has been the most helpful. And then to always give hope, because when you're in the situation that we have now walked in for 12 years, it is a lot of days that you are literally, especially in the hospital, the breath and the oxygen in the room is hope. And the care, that's for the caregiver and the patient. And yes, I know you have to give the worst case scenario medically, but one of the ways that a nurse helped me on one of those really awful, terrible, dark days was, she had said, I know that what the doctor said, but this is what I've seen. And that right there gave me enough CPR of hope. It infused me. It's like hooking an IV up to me, that it helped me to get up and to keep functioning and to take care of Seth and to do what I needed to do. And that has been the case with Seth as well. When people speak encouragement over him or celebrate the victories, no matter how small, he needs to hear that too, because with a brain injury or without, I think we always tend to focus on the summit, and we miss the steps that we've already taken, that, you know, the ground we've covered behind us is just as important, because it's those steps, even if they're baby steps, that get us to the summit and get us to be able to get on top of the mountain of that goal. And that's the other thing, is the small goals in between. That was the biggest thing. It's good to have a huge goal, and that's great, but it takes those small goals to be celebrated. And where Seth felt like, well, at least I've got this, and that's taken me one step closer. The admirable qualities in a clinician is definitely humor. Our favorites are the ones that were smack talky, because we are pretty sassy with one another. and yeah, whatever. So we are pretty sassy with one another, but it has been our humor that has gotten us through our darkest hours, because laughter is the best medicine, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so when you can laugh at each other, and I think it's helped Seth.
Ourselves.
Yeah, Seth watches his videos, and we'll hear him crack up laughing, but it's because they are funny, and he's hilarious. But it has been the biggest thing that you can tell your patients is, you know, you can give them the tools, but they have to have the want to, and nobody can give you that. Nobody can give you the want to ever. So, and I will say this, and then I would like to hear if there's anything else you would like to ask me, or anything you want us to cover. And you can even ask Seth some questions, and he'll be happy to answer them best he can. There you go. One thing I can tell you is, when Seth first came home from the hospital, he needed full assistance. He literally could not get up by himself. Like I said, he was in diapers. He could not walk. His balance was horrendous. You had to stand behind him or around him to be able to catch him, because he literally would stumble and fall. Could not pick his foot up 6 inches to even go over a threshold without someone holding on to him. Now, what I can say is something, circling back to what I said earlier, you can't give them the want to. Something that I can share with you that I think will even help you personally, I hope it does today, that's always my goal, is one of the things Seth did that a therapist of ours even refers back to and helps her other patients with this analogy and this story of what Seth did. Seth would go and get weekly massages, and it was about 3 times a week. And he had extreme nausea. Like the kid would throw up before we even get to the end of the road, just extreme nausea. We had to travel with a 5-gallon bucket and peppermint oil, which deadens and gets rid of the funky smell for all of you people that need to know that. We would take him to the massage therapist, and we would help him get on a table, and eventually he got where he could help us help him get on the table. But a goal he always had was he wanted to try and open the door with his left hand and then with his right. And his left hand was still very weak. But I remember the day that every single time we would be leaving, he would take his hand and he would really try to assist his hand to open it, And it was kind of not that dramatic. But anyway, so he's a drama queen. So he would try and his whole body would move to try and open the door with that right hand that was still locked. And he finally got it where he could actually put his hand on that door. And that day he tried, and he finally got it to turn, and he opened it. And man, the smile on his face, it sounded like everybody in there was screaming like it was a Super Bowl win for your team. It was a huge win for him because it proved if he just keeps pushing through it. By the way, that's the name of the book, is Push Through It. The Seth Hanchey story, because the subtitle is this: there is purpose in your pain, and the greater your pain, the greater your purpose. That's what I believe, and that's my experience. But by the way, if you go and get the ebook on Kindle, I will tell you there's a lot of hyperlinks in there. To me, it's better than the hard copy. It's only $4.97. We made it affordable for other people, especially for therapists to be able to use, or their patients to get, because there's a lot of tips in there, psychologically as well as physically, that we did. But I will tell you this, that thing about opening your own door, just remember that, like I said, y'all can give your patients the tools. You can teach them all of the things you want to teach them. And just remember, you can't make them want to, as bad as you want to for them, as much as you see that they are able, if they would just try a little harder or try hard at all. You can't do it for them. You can't do the work for them. You can only give them the tools. So, but you can create that atmosphere of encouragement, laughter where they want to be there, positive, uplifting, atmosphere is always good. So now I'm going to turn it back to you and open the floor. If y'all have any questions, or if there's anything else y'all would like us to cover, let us know.
Okay, so I was just saying thank you guys for taking the time and jumping time zones to talk to us. And also, this is a dream moment. I've been a big fan of your foundation for years and years now. So the fact that I'm talking to you guys right now is crazy.
No, not to you. Yeah.
But yeah, so
thank you, Natalie. Thank you.
So a couple things. Seth, thank you for your joyous personality. You're really one of the best advocates out there for TBI that I can think of. And also, one question that I have: I saw you guys talking at, I think it was Louisiana Tech.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, Seth, if you had your notes app with your strategy on it, with all the different folders.
Now, and I'll tell you, he did this himself. I think your brain adapts when you're pushed out, because that's the way our brain is made. The challenges actually provoke our brain to work and to go into hyperdrive of trying to figure out how to fix things, or how to accomplish whatever the goal is.
Yeah, so guys, when they were doing a prior presentation before, he made his own form of AAC.
There. I don't know if you can see that, and of course it's backwards, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it shows different things like movies, things that he wants to say if he's having conversation through text, or talking to a girl or whatever. Anyway, he's got, I know he macking still, but anyway, he's got his things in there so he can communicate. And I don't know if you can see it. He's got a lot of folders in there, but he put all of those in there. He came up with that. And even like him ordering the food using his phone, taking the picture of the menu that's hanging up or anything like that. And by the way, we don't follow him around. He does his thing. I feel like independence, for the first few years, I knew that I was becoming his crutch and his wingman, babies, but I did not sign up for that job. And anyway, so Seth began doing a lot more things by himself, and that's what I was circling back to. I used his phone, and he came up with this, and we would come up with some ideas, but the majority of his techniques he came up with by just being pushed out in the rope cut to the pier and pushed out in the middle of the ocean. Is like, dude, figure it out. This is your life to navigate. The brain injury it might have threw it into a different trajectory, but you got a life to live. So let's get out there and carpe diem and seize it, right? Like making the video and explaining about the apraxia. He was able to pull that up, doing a video story of just like the background of what happened. There's a YouTube channel, and we have really utilized social media. And my daughter Elise is on here, and she is our social media guru, and she's the one that really helps a lot of that. Seth is always the star of the show. I will whisper to you, there is a video out there of him wearing a blue jean Speedo. And yes, I said Speedo. I did not know blue jean Speedos existed, but they do on Amazon. And I had a caregiver retreat of people I did not know that I was trying to encourage that have other patients that are TBI. And we're in Florida at this beautiful beach, and Seth comes walking through the condo with nothing but white butt cheeks hanging out of a blue jean Speedo. So all I'm saying is, one more time, I'll tell you, laughter is always the greatest medicine.
Bless.
And oh yes, very blessed. No, we were not. We were not. The moon over Florida is not a cute thing. I'd rather see the beach in the sunshine. But anyway, so Seth has a great sense of humor, and that right there, if you watch any of his videos, he laughs at himself all the stinking time, and he makes fun of himself, and it is hilarious to us because we all have a very, I guess we have a really good sense of humor. We laugh a lot and joke a lot, but Seth is so stinking funny. And y'all, best person to ever have in a game of charades, because he can act out any freaking thing you can think of. Movies, music, whatever. Okay, go ahead, Natalie.
Sweet. I actually think we have someone that wants to ask a question. If you guys want to come on.
Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Lauren. Thank you guys again for this opportunity. It's been so informative. I love it. I do have a question. In your speech therapy, did you guys ever incorporate script therapy?
What is that?
So script therapy is something that we would practice. So basically you're given a script. Let's say like Seth was going to a doctor's appointment and he wanted to practice how he would ask questions, answer questions, certain things. Was any of that covered in your speech therapy sessions?
A little bit, but like you're talking about like the life, I call it life skills. It's where your life application, you go out if you're going to talk to somebody. That is some of the things. Yes, I hate to say this, but Seth was quite stubborn with a lot of his things. He would get frustrated with a lot of the sentence things to say. They did have him a device. It was called a Dynavox.
Yes.
And
I don't know.
yeah, we just he refused to use it, and now they have really amazing apps on the phone that help a lot with that. Don't you have an app right now that kind of does like the different sayings? They're trying to help you build some of those scripts.
Sorry.
I call them phrases, but y'all's word is fancy. Scripts. Yeah, like that. Do you use any of this?
Yeah.
A little bit. Show them what it is. What's the name of that app? Here, let me see. Body
Okay.
parts.
Yeah. Hmm.
Of all the ones to open it to, great. That's awesome, Seth. So body parts, we don't know why, but anyway, it has different things in there. I will tell you, just FYI, that's the wacky sense of humor kind of stuff he does, because even when he did have just the Grim Reaper, he had Snapchat filters he would do on the head, and
Okay.
send them the people of it laughing. I don't know if y'all know what Snapchat is, but he would send us these odd, weird things. And oh, there's
Well,
one.
oh my God.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
where that started breaking
But
down. There's the
Sorry.
Snapchat filter. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I know. That's yeah. And then of course we have a COVID mask,
Aw.
because he used to get stopped and he couldn't wear the mask because he had the open wound. He created hey, I got a mask on my Grim Reaper, so get out my face. But anyway.
And I think we have one more
Any other
question.
questions?
Yeah, we got one more.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so
Hi.
much for coming and talking to us. So, as kind of graduate clinicians in the room, Seth, what advice would you kind of want us to know, kind of going into this field? What is anything like super important that any of your doctors or therapists did to kind of like motivate you or just really kind of encourage you through this whole process?
Yeah, calm and breathe.
To calm and breathe.
Yeah, yeah.
So when that is one thing they did.
Oh my God, mind, yeah, but spins. I can't go there, pero go yeah. Ah, yeah, yeah. Calm and breathe.
Yeah. One of the speech pathologists told him, it's been several years ago, she would tell Seth, because Seth would get so stinking frustrated, because as y'all know, he knows what he wants to say, and cognitively he's still there. But processing sometimes is slow, but he knows what he wants to say. It's the execution, getting it out. And he would get so stinking frustrated because he was not able to get out what he was trying to say, and the other people couldn't understanding. And the speech pathologist told him, hey, Seth, when you're stressed, it's going to make it harder for your brain to get those words out, for the words to come out. So just calm down, take a breath, and sometimes even go blah, 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 or something, just to kind of like delete and erase and then try again. But that was something that was very helpful. And she said, is there anything they did that would help you, like to motivate you to keep going, to keep trying when you were frustrated? Is there anything that you can think of that they did or said to motivate you?
Yeah, no, the team, team,
Team?
but myself, mine. So, oh God, so half and half.
So how did you stay motivated? I know, but tell them, how did you keep uplifted in your spirit? How did you stay motivated to keep pushing through it?
Yeah. And real and to all false God and real time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is this and over can't. So time.
And music has been something.
Yeah.
Music.
Myself.
Yeah, I will say that's extremely important for your patients.
Yeah.
To create an atmosphere of positivity, even with the caregiver, to help them to try to be mindful of, because we have our bad days too as caregivers, because we feel frustrated for them and about maybe the new lot of life that we've been given.
Yeah.
And so we get in our feels some days, don't we, Seth? And so one thing I can say is attitude and atmosphere. Attitude and atmosphere. Attitude, you need a positive attitude. And we always guarded Seth's atmosphere of his room. There was nobody allowed around him to be negative. When we'd hear a negative doctor's report, I always spun that sucker around and say, you know, I don't care what they say. I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do, and you know. So I think it's attitude, and I think it's an atmosphere, maintaining an atmosphere. If you get in an atmosphere where it's negativity, it's really down low and despair, you're already conditioned, and you already have the building blocks for depression that leads to suicide or whatever, because you lose sense of purpose, you lose vision for your life. Maybe you had a vision before whatever happened to you happened, the stroke, or I'm gonna just address you guys, the breakup, or catching your boo with your best friend and that kind of thing. So you thought your life was going to be, you know, marrying this person, white picket fence, you got your doctorate, they got theirs, happily ever after, la la la, whatever. And then boom, you find out they're cheating, or they dumped you, or whatever, 2 days before the wedding or the day of, or whatever. And or they start ghosting you or whatever.
Yeah.
Golly, we can talk all day about ghosting. He ain't praying, he cussing. Anyway, so that kind of stuff, like, you're already dealing with those things that makes you get depressed. So this works for people that have an injury, that have an issue, that have a challenge, whether it's you guys as a student, or when you're a speech pathologist. Your life's not going to be just hunky-dory because you got a certificate and a degree in your hand. You're still going to have to navigate through the pressures of life, period, whatever it is. And everybody has their different pressure threshold and pain threshold. But no matter what it is, maintain. Like, the natural thing to do is to curl up and crawl under the covers. And Seth he could have checked out on life and said, my life sucks. I was in school to be a nurse. I was going to travel and do mission work, and I had it all mapped out, and I worked hard to graduate early, and I'm in college early, and he had it mapped out. And he wasn't drinking and driving. He was training for a triathlon, and literally preached the night before, the purpose and the destiny of God cannot be taken no matter what happens to you. And then boom, gets ran over and his speech taken. And he's a public speaker. How does that even compute? It doesn't. Bad things happen to good people. And if you get stuck at that question mark of, you know, my life sucks, and it don't look like this beautiful picture I had painted for me and my life, and I worked so hard to map it out because I didn't want it to look like where I came from, or my mom, or my dad. You've got to get your life. It's your life, babies. Get your keys in your hand and don't let nobody else sit in the driver's seat. But you have to choose the atmosphere. And if trajectory of your life is thrown in a complete different direction, do not lay down and die in a cemetery at a question mark, because I could have and he could have. And the day his nursing class graduated, I remember I was so angry, so angry. I was angry at God. I was angry at life. I was angry at the woman that hit him. All of these things, because we were celebrating he learned to write his name again on the day he should have been graduating with a nursing degree. So you will have things that happen to you in your life that will knock you out of what you thought this beautiful plan was for your life. But that does not mean your life is over. And it does not mean that your purpose died there, or whoever walked off and left you did not walk off with your purpose. There is purpose inside of you. And purpose comes when you give what you need. And that's why we do what we do, because I figured out in the hospital, there was nobody out there that could tell me a success story. I couldn't find anything or anybody that was told, you'll never do this, you'll never do that, and they did it. And by golly, your story will do the same thing to somebody. Say what you need to hear. If you're going through a bad time, smile. Okay, I'm off my soapbox.
Thank you,
mindful of time. I'm getting wound up and crunk up. So let me back it back down. And I'm his motivational speaker. Now you know.
Yes, but I want to thank you so much again. This was such a highly anticipated event that we were having at this club in the school. So thank you guys so much for your time. I think everyone had a smile over here and they learned a lot. Seth, you're making everyone laugh from all the way in New Jersey. But yeah, I just want to thank you guys so much. Please look for them on social media, TikTok, Instagram. They have a book out. Get the book. But let's just give them a round of applause, please. Give you a full.
Thank you, guys.
Pray for you and y'all.
Yeah.
Class.
Yeah, and we'll be praying for you too over here. Thank you guys so much for this experience.
Thank you. Anytime, Natalie. Thank you for reaching out, baby. Have a good day,
sure.
you guys.
You too.
Okay.
So long, guys.